Sheviit, Perek Gimel, Mishnah Yud, last Mishnah in the third chapter of Sheviit. Finally, we're going to finish the rules about building and doing building procedures in a field in a way that people shouldn't, the way the Chazal established that people shouldn't be choshesh, shouldn't be worried or give the impression that you're preparing the field for the next year on Sheviit. Says the Mishnah. Let's say I have a field on the edge of Rishut Rabim, public thoroughfare. Then am I allowed, usually when you build a fence, so you have to dig down a little bit in order to establish a foundation, and then you build up upon it. Here, they do it all the time in Israel, it's all concrete, so the tractor will dig a little fence, and then they'll build down, and then they'll pour the concrete in there. So am I allowed to dig? Remember, we're not allowed to dig. If I dig around in my field, it's like Ki'ilu could give the impression that maybe I'll change my mind, and I'm preparing the field for Shevi'it. So it says the Mishnah, if I want to build a fence between my field and Rishut Rabim, I'm allowed to dig down adasela until the bedrock, until the rock. You can dig down into the field itself. Why? Says the Bartanura. We're not afraid a person will then change his mind and say, oh, I dug already, now I can plant. Nobody plants, usually people don't plant adjacent to the public thoroughfare. But he adds, but between him and his friend's field, if I want to, dig a fence between my field and my friend's field, you can't dig on Shevi'it. Why? Chayshinan, we are concerned. Dilma mimlach b'zarale. Dilma, maybe he will change his mind and plant v'asur, and that's prohibited. Okay? So the Mishnah says, between your field and Rishut Rabim, you're allowed to. But now, what do I got to do? But I have a problem. Now I'm digging on the edge of Rishut Rabim. What am I supposed to do with the dirt? That's what the Mishnah says. Ma ya'aseh ba'afar. What should you do with the dirt that you dig? So because if I then dump it on my field, then it looks like that really looks bad. I'm digging dirt and then I'm dumping it on my field. That looks like I'm getting ready. I'm preparing the field. So therefore, sovro b'rishuta rabim umetakno. I make it, sover means to gather it into piles in rishuta rabim, in the public thoroughfare. Umetakno. And then what eventually I do is I smooth it out. I use it to fill potholes. I do everybody a great favor. Divrei Rabbi Yehoshua. So says Rabbi Yehoshua. Rabbi Akiva says, one second, just like you have no right to destroy in Rishut Rabim, kach lo yitakenu. You also don't have the right to fix things in Rishut Rabim. The Rishut Rabim belongs to everybody. So therefore, a person doesn't have a right to fix things that he doesn't want to fix. I'm going to give you the first explanation according to the Kahati. He says, just the fact that you are fixing things, okay? One second. A person is not permitted to fix things, to bring together dirt, even if you're fixing things at another time. Why? He says, some say, Shema tikuno, maybe his fixing, kikuhu legabi acher. Because maybe somebody else likes potholes. Maybe the guy who owns the tire store wants the potholes. Again, I'm exaggerating. But who says you're fixing, it's public thoroughfare. You don't have the right to fix things just because you think that they're broken. Which is very interesting because, if you have the public thoroughfare, it doesn't belong to you and your neighbor. It belongs to everyone. So you can't just do what you want to do. That's one interpretation. Let's look at the Bartanura for a second, okay? Kashem she'en mekalkalin b'rishut rabim, just like you don't break things in b'rishut rabim, you don't destroy, kach lo yitaken. Okay, kolomar, meaning, lo mibai yitzbor afro l'rishut rabim shu asur. Of course you're not allowed to gather your dirt in b'rishut rabim, that's permitted. Afal pish yisivenu archak, even if you're going to move it. Sharei mekalkelhu l'sha'ah. Because, okay, you're going to move it soon. When? You're creating a nuisance in the public, even if you say I'm going to move it soon. Ela afilu l'takein asur. You can't even fix things. Kigon. Imayu avanim o afar mefuzarim b'rishut rabim. Let's say there are stones that are spread out in b'rishut rabim. Lo yitzbarein b'makom echad. You can't fix it. You can't gather those into one place. It's not only your dirt in your field that you're going to dump on the street. You want to clear the streets, rather. If you want to clear the streets, you can't make piles. You can't do a half job, says the Bartanura. You're going to clear the streets. Don't clear the streets into piles and then you make problems for other people. He says that's what it means. Just just like you can't destroy Rishut Rabim, litzvor afro Rishut Rabim, to gather your dirt in the public street, even though you want to remove it later. Kach lo yitaken. You shouldn't fix litzvor avanim o afar Rishut Rabim. So he says it doesn't matter what your intention is. In our Mishnah, in our case, your intention is you're destroying, you're creating piles because you want to fix your field. And in another case, it's not that way. It's even if you want to fix Rishut Rabim, you can't make other problems by fixing Rishut Rabim. You can't say I'm fixing it, so therefore I can create holes or piles for other people. So when the Mishnah says, according to Rabbi Kiva, Maya aseh be'afar, what you do with the dirt? So you can gather it in your field, you can't spread it in your field. But remember, we learned the whole process of the mizablim, zevel, the manure collectors. So those people, remember we said you have 3 piles, and then it was certain amounts, and have this many bucketfuls. So you can make the same 3 piles. The same is true. If a person digs a bore, a well, siach, a bore, a pit, a siach u'me'ara, cave, a siach is some kind of ditch. If you're digging ditches, so the Bartanura says this is talking about during the rest of the year, not on Sheviit. You want to dig a ditch, you can't just dump the dirt in Reshut HaRabim and say, I'll fix it later. You have to be careful and make sure that you pile it up in such a way that you're not causing a public nuisance. This is a very interesting halacha because it's relevant to us very much in our day. People oftentimes think, I'm doing everybody else a favor. Very often you're not doing people a favor when you're fixing something that you think needs to be fixed. You're causing a nuisance for somebody else. So that's why they have laws. That's why we have public laws and people to enforce them. And we have public works in order to make sure that everything is done in the proper way. We will stop here. If you have any comments or questions, arspoter@gmail.com. I'll dedicate the learning to the memory of my father, Harav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Have a great day.